Hello, church. This is recorded for Wednesday, the 21st of October. There's so many things in life that get us down, and the last several months have taken a special toll on many folks. We can be depressed, we can be tired, we can be resentful, we can look with angst against the coming election, social strife, the pandemic, whatever. And if you're like me, you're getting kind of tired of even speaking about it. So I thought I'd go out tonight and speak from a secluded place, away from the house, away from the television, away from distractions. And I'm down in the bosque, down here near my house. I find God here, where I'm not seeing him in the noise of what is my everyday life. So I thought I would just take some time to look at some of the scriptures that God has given us about his creation, about his majesty, about his power over it, about his purpose for it, and just get away from what we've been dealing with. Of course, it all starts in Genesis. And I'd like to read that first chapter to start. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning was the first day. And then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And so the evening and the morning were the second day. And then God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called the sea. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to the kind, whose seed is in itself, and on the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the third day. And then God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons and for the days and years, and let them be for the lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. And then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and in the rule of the day and rule of the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And so the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And then God said, "Let the waters abound with the abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens." And so God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." So the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And then God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth, each according to its kind." And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth according to its kind, cattle according to its kind, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. And then God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And God said, see, I've given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food, and also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life. I've given every green herb for food, and it was so. And then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. And so the evening and the morning were the sixth day. And so God created all of this. He put it in place for us. And everything that God created declares his glory. From Psalm 23, we find that some of the creatures that God has given man, such as the sheep, the cattle, man was particularly used to having dominion. And after the creation, and after the flood, and after the recreation after the flood, things were changed a bit. Man used cattle for food, and used cattle and sheep, both food and clothing, had full dominion over those things. And he took care of those things, which is the way God intended. And just as a sheep was tended by a shepherd in the time of David, and even to this day, we are like sheep who need a shepherd. And David wrote about that. He wrote about it in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you're with me. And your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies, and you anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over, and surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I wonder if we often fail to look at this psalm through the eyes of the sheep. The shepherd takes him where there's food. The shepherd takes him where there's water. The shepherd takes him where he needs nothing, gives him rest in places of comfort and safety. The rest restores the soul. And even though the sheep walks through the valley of the shadow of death, whether that be the end of its mortal life or the end of its purpose, I don't know. But in all of that, the sheep is comforted. Comforted by a staff that guides the sheep from place to place, and the rod which chases away, beats down the enemy. That's God's creation. That's God's purpose shown to man and through his creation. and through the relationship that man has with the beasts, the domesticated beast. And as we're thinking about things that trouble us, because, even in the midst of pandemic, life goes on every day. We have our continued daily struggle with life, with purpose, with relationship. We still struggle with our children. We struggle with our friends. We struggle with our wives and husbands. We struggle with so many things. And yet, we're not really struggling against them. We're struggling against the power that controls them from time to time. And that power is not the power God intended. And when we lose sight of the things that God created and the purpose of it, and what the real struggle is, we need to get back to understanding his creation a bit better. Job was one who was probably distressed more than any one person we can come up with today. But the lesson is there for him, his lesson there for us. In all of this, he said, look, now ask the beasts, and they will teach you, and the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, and the fish of the sea will explain to you. Who among all of these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? And whose hand is the life of every living being, and the breath of all mankind? Does not the ear test words, and the mouth taste its food? Wisdom is with aged men, and the length of days understanding. God knew that even the creatures knew the Creator. So when we lose focus on the Creator, we may lose focus on what is true and real. Paul writes about that in the first chapter of Romans, that men have lost their way. They suppress the truth of righteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew him, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools. Genesis told us that God created the seas and everything in it, created the heavens and everything in it, created the earth and everything in it. And the Creator of all those things creates also the storm. And the Creator who created the storm can and will calm the storm. He showed that to his apostles, his disciples, on the Sea of Galilee. While he was at peace, they were afraid as a storm arose. And they asked him, "Don't you care?" And he said, "I'm here." And he looked at the storm, and he said, "Peace, be still." And it was still. So let's not lose focus. Let's remember who created the sea, created the storm, and it will be brought under control. Peace will be had. And let that peace start with you and with me. God bless you this week, and be at peace